My name is Phil Piquera, and I am the chair of the American National Standards Institute Board of Directors. And it is my pleasure to welcome our members and our friends of the standardization community to our 2022 annual business meeting. Over the next 30 minutes, Joe Battia and I will share a few highlights from the past year, along with our vision for what we think ANSI's future looks like. Our comments are framed within the context of today's discussion on the evolving standards landscape. And I would also say that this meeting is an example of change. It's a 3-year evolution that's taken place. 3 years ago, we met in person. Then we moved to a virtual environment. And now we're moving to a hybrid environment, which has given us an opportunity to engage more people, to inform more people, and to have more constituents attend our business meeting. And this year's accompanying annual report makes an online debut with interactive elements that help bring the document and the concepts and programs it describes to life. Our theme, Building for the Future, is based on the premise that ANSI and the standards community are in place and effective because they were designed to support the sweeping technological, economic, political, environmental, and social changes that are always happening within our society. Standards are, and always have been, and always will be, the building blocks for U.S. innovation, competitiveness, security, interoperability, and also quality of life. Today, advancing and emerging technologies are front and center. We live and conduct business in a tele-everything environment. Telework, telemedicine, e-commerce, virtual schooling, and more. New products are influencing our behavior, and new industries and new markets are being established. And while all this is taking place, countries are racing to reduce their reliance on imports from geopolitical rivals. And standardization, and as discussed this morning, standardization policies and processes are becoming politicized. Domestically, agencies of the federal government are taking a keen interest to ensure that there's continued effective U.S. participation and leadership in regional and international standardization activities. As the ANSI Board of Directors has reviewed and tracked these emerging challenges and opportunities, we knew that action was needed. We knew it was imperative that we develop a coordinated response that would keep U.S. at the forefront of important standardization activities. Those conversations by the board led to today's summit. The conversations in today's open forum will help us shape the concrete actions that ANSI and each of our own organizations can take, not only to keep pace with evolution, but to also blaze a trail of innovation. It was mentioned this morning about the public-private partnership. That partnership is at the core of our standardization system and is more vital than ever. We have an incredibly solid foundation which to build. The 5th update of the United States Standard Strategy, which you heard me discuss last year, laid out a roadmap of strategies and tactics to support U.S. growth, innovation, and quality of life. Though I've been an active and engaged member of the ANSI board and the U.S. National Committee of the IAC for many years, it was through the U.S. Standard Strategy process and development of that strategy, and in my role as the board chair, that I have been exposed to many new dimensions of ANSI and of the standardization community. Every day, I am reminded just how complex and diverse our community is. Not only are the industries and communities represented, but the modes of operation too. For example, I am excited of the steps that are being taken by ANSI and many standards developing organizations to recognize the importance of consumer voices, consumer engagement in standard setting activities. A new consumer participation fund set up by ANSI and supported by 5 founding sponsoring members will reimburse consumers for eligible expenses related to the development of American national standards. Still in its pilot year, we're pleased to announce that the funding goal has been met for this first year, and we will begin to accept applications from eligible consumers to participate in standardization activities. I'm also proud of the U.S. National Committee and its Young and Emerging Professionals Committee for officially launching the YEP program this spring. I have to resist from saying the YEP program. It just sounded kind of silly, but you know, the YEP program. For more than a year, a group of newcomers to IEC standardization work, along with what I would call seasoned USNC leaders, have been working together to shape the future of the program. I would also be proud to announce that the USNC Professional Mentoring Program has also kicked off in its first full year, and they already have 9 mentoring pairings for the coming year. The program is designed to promote retention, development, and the overall success of new participants. In a moment, Joe Batia will share more updates with you in his report. After his remarks, Joe and I will be available to answer questions. And as an aside, I will tell you that Joe will be very offended if he doesn't get the hard questions. Before I turn over the microphone, I also want to thank ANSI staff for their work. I want to thank my fellow board officers and my fellow board members for all their guidance and support, and especially to all the members and volunteers who contribute their expertise, their energy, and their resources to build, implement, maintain, and constantly improve the initiatives that you're going to be hearing about today. Your commitment, dedication, and participation are instrumental in supporting and strengthening the evolving standards landscape and helping us build for the future. So on that note, it is my great pleasure to introduce ANSI's President and CEO, Joe Batia. Joe, the microphone is yours. Thank you.
Those of you who remember, I have a little sore throat, so I have tools here to keep me going. And if I can't keep going, then Fran is there to help me. And she has the notes as well. So with that warning, I'll see how far we can go. Thanks, Phil, for setting it up. And welcome to everyone who's here from DC or surrounding areas, or people who are on the Zoom. Thank you for joining us. You are the larger community. We're glad to see many of you back. We talked about this. Seeing you in person is really exciting. And I hope that you're taking time to attend this year's annual business meeting as well, which is coming up. So just talking about what are we going to be doing? What are the visions? There's a lot of detail. Some of it may not be as exciting as perhaps my speech should be, but it's going to be informative. So during the pandemic, ANSI made a renewed commitment that our infrastructure, our systems, and processes would always remain flexible enough to meet the current priorities and the emerging needs. We are taking a strategic approach to uphold this pledge. Today, what we're doing is a perfect example of what we intend to do. Our board created focus groups that came together with our joint member forum to organize Evolving Standards Landscape Summit, and the input provided during today's session, as other sessions that took place this week, will help us ensure that we are developing the plans the programs, and the tools to assure that US is ready and able to meet evolving standardization needs across diverse industry sectors. Inside the Beltway, ANSI members and staff continue to engage regularly with Congress, with agencies, with policy staff. Our messages are clear and quite consistent. We advocate for the flexibility of the US system, provide examples of its effectiveness, and emphasize the robust and responsive foundation it provides for US innovation, for US growth, and for our success and competitiveness. Testifying this summer at a House committee hearing, ANSI Vice President of Government Relations and Public Policy, Mary, who've met you many times and you've heard, she shared recommendations for further enhancing robust US leadership and influence in international standardization, particularly in emerging technologies. In August of this year, giving a keynote speech at the Department of Defense Standardization Program Office Conference, I emphasized that the public-private partnership is at the core of our standardization system, and it's more vital than ever before. Openness, due process, consensus are the critical cardinal principles of our system. But partnerships and collaboration are the bedrock upon which this is built. To illustrate the effectiveness of our system, I shared with that group several recent successes of ANSI standardization collaboratives. Many of you are familiar with that. These cross-sector groups are convened by ANSI in particular in partnership with key public and private sector partners. They are established with the very broad stakeholder participation to drive cutting-edge technologies and areas of national or global priorities. One timely example is ANSI's Electrical Vehicle Standards Panel. Last year, the Department of Energy announced a funding opportunity to address challenges to the integration of EV charging. Working through our standards panel, the EVs at Scale Lab Consortium committed to develop a standardization roadmap that would identify the most critical standards to support EVs at a scale. This effort complements allocations of federal and state funding associated with deploying an EV charging infrastructure nationwide. That's quite an achievement if we get there. Working groups are now meeting twice monthly with a goal of publishing a full report by mid-May 2023. In another example that I provided, the America Makes an ANSI Additive Manufacturing Standardization Collaborative that was launched in 2016, with support from the U.S. Department of Defense, has renewed its efforts to help the coordination and maintenance of additive manufacturing standards being developed across numerous entities. With a market value at $13.84 billion in 2021 and expanding at a compound annual rate of more than 20% from now on through 2030, the additive manufacturing presents opportunities for every industry sector. Last month, the collaborative launched a development of version 3 of its roadmap with a goal of publishing a full report by next June. Several other collaborative activities exist. The three that are active very much these days are active standards coordination initiatives and workshops for 1, global supply chain security and microelectronics, 2, standardization effort for AI-enabled systems in healthcare, and 3, measuring the impact of standards on health and safety. We've talked about these issues today. ANSI standardization collaboratives are highly responsive model, and we believe that they will continue to serve the U.S. well into many years in the future. Another of ANSI's key roles is safeguarding the integrity of the U.S. standards system by accrediting the organizations that develop standards and approving their documents as American national standards when a rigorous set of due process requirements has been met, not without that. Our library of ANS currently includes more than 14,000 documents developed and maintained by a roster of nearly 240 standards developers. Thousands of individuals voluntarily participate in the development and maintenance of these standards, and we thank each of these organizations and volunteers for their time, for their expertise that they bring to the table, and the commitment. On the global playing field, we are seeing a larger number of players, both public and private, engaging actively in standards process. Companies jockeying for technology-driven advantages in competitive emerging markets like AI, IoT, and quantum information science are pushing for standards that are comprehensive, forward-thinking, and globally accepted. This is where ANSI adds true value. As a founding member of both the International Electrotechnical Commission, IEC, and the International Organization for Standardization, ISO, the US has been an active player on the world stage of standardization for decades. ANSI's leadership in the international standards forums allows us to assure that standards are set by consensus on a level playing field with open participation, and that the integrity of the process is also secured. So after EU published its new European standard strategy early in 2022, this is when it gets exciting, we knew we needed to monitor and evaluate the potential implications of the EU-centric single market strategy to the US stakeholders. What is it going to do for them or against them? ANSI hosted a listening session for our members and the US government officials to share their thoughts and observations. And our International Policy Advisory Group coordinated a response to government's request for input from the US companies on early experiences with ESS implementation and the possible impact on trade within the EU marketplace. We continue to monitor the implementation and level our relationships with the European standards organizations and others as well to mitigate any negative impact on global trade and globally accepted standards like ours, like you guys get involved with. The US remains one of the most active and influential members of both ISO and IEC. We participate in more than 90% of the IEC technical activity and 75% of the ISO technical activity, which is much more diverse. The newest US membership in ISO committees include the circular economy and guidelines for promotion and implementation of gender equality, as well as some new committees for plastics, freight containers, and railway applications. Earlier this year, the US-led ISO-IEC Joint Technical Committee on Information Technology, JTC1, as you know, received approval to establish a new subcommittee that will develop the foundational IT standards needed to enable communications and interaction between brains and computers. So that should be interesting. Later this month, I will join US ANSI and IEC President Kevin Lippard as ANSI Chairman Phil Pereira and other members of the US ANSI leadership. We welcome the delegates from around the world to San Francisco for the IEC 2022 General Meeting. More than 1,500 or maybe up to 2,000 delegates from the electrotechnology sector are expected. I guess others are also expected. The US National Committee's hosting of this event demonstrates our commitment to US leadership in global electrotechnical markets. It's a key event. I would encourage you to try to participate if you can or send somebody there. Through our partnership with the US Agency for International Development, USAID, we have a member here. I just talked to him. There he is. Yeah, welcome. ANSI is helping bring hands-on knowledge of standards and conformity assessment infrastructure to 27 new countries and regions around the globe. Now that number is 12 countries jump in just 1 year, which is quite impressive, and hopefully we can keep that up. Phase 2 of this USAID Standards Alliance project is helping the developing countries build capacity in their legal and regulatory frameworks, and nearly 4,500 participants have been involved in more than 55 training workshops. Quite an achievement. By opening our doors to emerging industry sectors, through exciting new efforts to welcome consumers and others previously underrepresented groups, and by hosting collaborative future-focused activities led by our member forums, ANSI is engaging and responding to the needs of an ever-broadening world of stakeholders across nearly every area of society. As a result, the ANSI Federation grew by 2.5% even in these difficult years to a 1,400, I wish it was 14,000, 1,400 members. With growth, it is more vital than ever for the U.S. to have skilled and effective standards participants at every level. A U.S. workforce that understands the value of standards and conformance is critical to our competitiveness. One of our community's biggest challenges continues to be capacity building. The number of standards professionals has remained flat even as the volume of standardization activities has grown. This is why ANSI has prioritized improving and expanding our training courses for domestic and international standards participants. We are developing more effective, user-friendly training tools for our entire community. And beyond our own offerings, we are maintaining a directory of hundreds of educational resources for standards participants. You are free to use that information as well. One shining example was already mentioned by Phil in his remarks. The new USNC Young and Professional program is already seeing tremendous interest from early career participants attending its workshops and networking and other activities. So as I mentioned in last year's report, ANSI has dedicated additional staff and resources to attract underrepresented groups to the standards table. Under the direction of our Consumer and Legislative Outreach Manager, who's here, the Pilot Consumer Participation Fund that Phil mentioned is making it possible for participants to join conversations by reducing financial barriers to participation. I wish our resources were higher, and maybe they'll increase as we go forward. But at this time, I would like to thank the 5 founding contributors, ASTM, IAPMO, NSF, the Toy Association, and UL for joining ANSI in this effort. As we move steadily forward from the pandemic, we can look to see how it created unique opportunities to reassess the ways in which we live, work, connect, and of course, innovate. We talked a lot about our learnings, but we didn't talk about innovation that much. ANSI launched a new webpage to practical resources to help members and organizations throughout the standardization community to adapt new ways of working, strengthening operations, and emerging even stronger than before. These resources include informative presentations, usable guidance, and other free tools, reports, and need-to-know data. Our Organizational Member Forum, OMF, launched a webinar series on planning and executing hybrid meetings more effectively. The first sessions included lively discussions of shared challenges. Challenges are always welcome. Strategies, concerns, experiences, and the community adjusts to hybrid meetings as a new normal. Additional sessions are in the works with potential spotlight on platform pros and cons, voting tools, and conducting breakout sessions. As we are demonstrating today, a virtual or a hybrid model will continue to play a significant role in standards development after the pandemic ends. As the landscape grows and changes, many standards developing organizations are adopting new technologies to support their work and deliver speed and value to their constituents. Both ISO and IEC, for example, continue to move rapidly and irreversibly towards greater digitalization, machine learning technologies, and creation of a framework of the development of standards, which, by the way, is their primary budgeting commitment for the next few years, the largest one. ANSI affiliate ANAB has also been responding to the rapidly changing business environment by expanding its remote assessment services and carrying out a robust digital transformation strategy to benefit its clients and customers. Talking about ANAB, alongside ANSI, ANAB also continues to engage the U.S. State Representative, the federal regulators, and others to promote the principle of one accreditation accepted everywhere and to dismantle technical barriers to trade in the U.S. and particularly globally. ANAB expanded its IAAC multilateral recognition arrangement signatory status to include personnel certification, product/global global gap agriculture participation and practices, and the greenhouse gas validation and verification. With this move, ANAB's ISO IEC 17024 program became the first and only personnel certification program recognized by some key entities: International Accreditation Forum, the Asia Pacific Accreditation Cooperation, and the Inter-American Accreditation Cooperation. Quite an achievement in a short time. A few other significant highlights include that I would like to mention, 4 to be exact. The first one, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, approved ANAB's Product and Management System Certification Body Accreditation Program, as well as its Laboratory Accreditation Program to provide services in the food safety area. Number 2, ANAB is now accrediting greenhouse gas validation and verification bodies to the new IACO-CORISIA requirements for reducing CO2 emissions in international aviation industry, which is a large activity, as you know. Helping to grow a skilled workforce through industry-recognized apprenticeships, ANAB recognized Dallas College's MRI technologist program pursuant to the U.S. Department of Labor standards. In other words, following them. Item 4, bringing greater trust and confidence to emerging areas, ANAB recently launched new accreditation offerings relating to biobanking, trust in journalism, and cannabis. Let's now talk a little bit about WorkRed. ANSI's affiliate WorkRed is producing new research and implementing projects that provide insights and best practices for individuals to obtain skills for in-demand jobs with livable wages and help employees fill their talent needs or gaps. So it's working for both sides. As part of this initiative to integrate certification pathways into degree programs, new partnership with Houston Community College and Texas Southmost College are better aligning industry credentials pathways with regional labor markets and providing support to low-income and first-generation learners as well. WorkRed's outreach efforts have been another priority during the past year. Messaging has focused on providing clarity to employers, policymakers, and workforce community about how certifications fit into a career pathways and how quality credentials can enhance one's chance of being hired and how to navigate the wide variety of credentials. This spring's Technology and Workforce Conference, co-hosted with ANSI, featured a session on creative ways to grow the next generation of standards professionals. Looking ahead, WorkRed will expand its impact with even more outreach on hot topics in credentialing. Keep your eyes open. As I wrap up my formal remarks, I'm proud to tell you that ANSI ended 2021 with operating revenues of $87.95 million, increasing our revenue stream by $8.4 million over the past year. We continue to be fiscally responsible, maintaining our focus on diversifying revenue and effectively managing expenses to strategically position ANSI not just to address today's priorities, but also for the evolving needs we anticipate in the tomorrows. So there is a lot going on, and we have our work cut out for us with so much change as we build for the future. An evolving standards landscape presents more opportunities than ever. The way to harness these opportunities is for all of us to work together, to bring the best of all of our expertise to the table, and to develop collaborative standardization solutions. Before we adjourn, I would like to thank Institute's Board of Directors for their leadership and for their guidance. Several of them are here today. Special thanks are also due to board officers who have been generous with their time. Institute's vice chairs are also very important, and I'll name them. Dale Sear, I don't think he's physically here, he might be online. Tim Klein, I know he's here. Tim, would you wave? There you are, thank you. Mary McKeel, I can see her, she's right here. And David Miller, who of course is out of the country, out of town, out of the city. So he's probably going to be connecting with us tomorrow. Our immediate past chairman, Russ Cheney, had given us significant amount of support and significant amount of contributions in multiple ways. Thank you, Phil. And of course, our hugest thanks go to our current chair, Phil. Now, Phil holds his back in no way, shape, or form. Not even in an intricate knee replacement surgery. He can work lying down. I noticed that. Thank you, Phil.
I'm most comfortable lying down.
So we have some great team to help us and guide us and keep us within guidelines that we should be in. I would also like to thank all of you, everyone who serves in the leadership positions within ANSI, and there are many of you here. People within ANSI, chairs and vice chairs of policy advisory groups, of program oversight committees, and of member forums, collaboratives, and workshops. So much of what we accomplish is done because of your efforts. Thank you all very much. And finally, a tremendous thank you to all of you that participate with us, our members, our partners, our contributors, our users of services, our guide, for your participation, because with you, we get initiatives and ideas and perhaps things that we need to fix and support that is unbeatable. So thank you again, all of you as well. It's ANSI's great privilege to have you and to serve you. And here, I will tell you that now, before Phil and I take your questions, I would like to let you know how you can find the annual report. We have a different method. For those on Zoom, we will put a link to the report in the Zoom chat. For our members and all registrants to this meeting, we are sending you an email with the link. And if you need it, the link will be available from homepage of ansi.org, lowercase. We invite you to scroll through the report for more details about the recent activities of ANSI and our affiliates, ANAB and WorkCred. Thank you very much for your attention. And I have one more thing to talk about, and that's one item of business that is final but is very important. Voting for the next series of candidates for the board of directors. As ANSI members, each member organization is asked to vote for the slate of nominees for the 2023 ANSI Board of Directors. You should have received an email a few weeks ago outlining the procedure. If you haven't already done so, your organization can vote in person today. To cast your vote, you may either do so in person by seeing Eleni. Eleni, where are you? Here she is. Look for the lady in black and with the mask. So Eleni, at the back of the room, she'll be able to fill out your ballot. Or if attending virtually, respond via the link is in the chat. Remember, each company organization gets one vote, one only. Thank you again. And thank you for your time and your attention.